Thank you for coming. My name is Stefan Kaegi. I'm originally from Switzerland, but live mostly in Berlin at the time. And I'm here in Delhi for this project, Parallel Cities, which I curated some 2 years ago, and I keep touring it and transforming and developing it in different locations again. But today I'd like to introduce a bit of my other work first before I come back to this project, which you will be invited to see this week as we go in as part of the NSD. And there is actually a registration desk right outside this room where you can get your free tickets, but booked time slots for the coming days for Parallel Cities. I'll come to that in the end. Let me start a bit earlier in my life. I will talk today a bit about the work that I'm doing with an artistic label that I'm working with in Berlin, which is called Rimini Prtotkoll. So this is our website. We do very different forms of projects. Maybe if I want to talk, as I'm here in a theater school, if I want to talk about what kind of work Rimini Prtotkoll is doing, it helps to say that in Germany and in Switzerland, mostly if you want to do theater, you have two options. You either go for a handicrafted-based training, you try to be an actor, and then you become a director, which to me, I felt is not the appropriate way to go with, because I felt very untalented as an actor. And the other way would be you just go for university studies and you do it from a theory side, but you might not have knowledge about timing, about technical skills that you might need to accumulate. So I studied a bit of everything. My first job was actually a journalist when I went from school. I then went for art school for a while, and I ended up in a specific university close to Frankfurt, where maybe the more UK-oriented drama department kind of university studies that has a lot of practical influence in it was happening. I have always loved to go to theater, but I found it always very, in a way, artificial to think of theater as a place where people who are long dead have written certain texts and people who have been trained very well in certain handicrafts speak those texts, but they don't have a personal reference to themselves. But I loved theater always because I thought it's a great space. You switch off your mobile phone, and that's a very rare thing to happen. So I always was there and looking at what is going on in the front, but mostly I got most interested in things that happen just around the corner from the stage. I heard dogs barking in a mise en scène that I saw in Argentina. I will never forget, in an open-air theater space. They were doing Jeunesse, Die Zofen, whatever that is, well, one of these plays. And the actresses were acting very hysterically, and you could hear the dog barking more and more at the back, and I found the dog barking much more interesting than whatever was going on the stage. So I try to use, in all my work, I guess, theater as a tool to speak rather about reality that is happening beyond the stage. So I will show some examples of what that could mean. The first one, I'd love today to start with India directly, because 2004 we spent quite some time with my company Rimini Prtotkoll in Kolkata, and we found a place that I found fascinating in Salt Lake, which is one of these newly developed areas where call centers are booming. And we went into one of these call centers, and I heard hundreds of voices speaking simultaneously into the phones, and they said, "Hello, is this London? You, Mrs. Smith, how much do you earn? Because you actually won a trip to the continent. I just need some information. How much do you earn? How big is your house? How many children you have? What car do you drive? And is it true you're living on Station Street? Are you not? Oh, I'm sorry, wrong telephone number. You didn't win, sorry." And they hung up. But obviously they sold the information to somebody that did other things with those informations. And I found it a crazy idea that people in India are actually playing a role. If we talk about theater, they're not allowed to give away their real names. They're not normally saying where they're actually based, but they are doing business. And we thought, couldn't we use that intercontinental phone connection for something more productive, something more creative between the continents? So what we invented was, we called it the first mobile phone theater, that had a very specific form. It didn't happen on a stage, but if you wanted to see it, you booked a specific time slot. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you alone would go to a theater. In the first phase, it happened in Kolkata itself. So you went to that theater, the Star Theater, which is freshly renovated in Hattibagan, northern area of Kolkata. And you would then buy your ticket, and in exchange, you would get a mobile phone. The mobile phone would ring, and now I'm showing you a little bit of video of what happened then next. So what you see is some of the audiences.
Transformation, you're able to become me, and you're sitting to my character. Okay. So now, please go back into the theatre. Okay. Okay? And walk into the lobby of the theatre.
Yes, I am just entering the lobby. I've entered the lobby.
Do you see a way outside here, right?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Walk out that way.
Okay.
So when you get out of the door, look to your right, you see a blue shutter?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
This was where I used to hide.
Okay. Sorry. Download.
So just to explain this, you see people on the telephone. Some of them are audience members, others are performers. The ones in the call center are the performers. The difference is mainly they have a script, partly. They partly also improvise. And the others paid a ticket to see the show. Actually, I think it was a free ticket. I don't even remember. But they had a ticket. So I guess that's always what, in the end, makes it theater in its definition. And the performers, they would guide them through North Kolkata. They had knowledge about that area. They had walked through it. And they had certain maps. They had certain pictures. But they would need to cooperate together in a way to find out where exactly are they. Because that was long before GPS allowed you to see where other people are moving around. Let me jump a bit forward.
Your skin and being somebody else.
So somebody else's mind, entering somebody else's mind or becoming somebody else.
I may want to play a jazz singer rather than a doctor, but I don't want to play a male.
Sometimes I've dreamt about it, but not in reality like this.
So now you're going to do it.
Yes.
I'll give you my memories and you lend me your body. Do you know what theatre this is? Do you know where you are? Yes, this is Vishwrupal Theatre. Vinodini has performed in these stages.
This was India's first revolving stage.
This is the theatre.
And then after the 60s, and then from 75 the television took up, cinemas became more popular. The pressure started coming on the theatre performances.
The owners of the place are two brothers. You see the houses around you? They own most of the houses. They have given them out on rent, so they don't go to work. They just sit and drink the whole day, and the people living in the vicinity just watch them.
And the brothers say, in their story goes like this: 4 years ago, during a show, an investor put fire on this theatre to build a shopping mall.
My God.
Some people say actions had spoiled their own theatre for insurance money,
And some people would say that the brothers burned the theatre down themselves. And right now there is a court case against them.
So now I'm going to give you two options, DK. You can play a tension scene or an action scene. Which do you want to choose?
Give me 5 seconds time.
Okay, I give you 5 seconds.
2, 3, 4, 5. Tension.
Okay, then now that you've chosen the tension scene, don't talk, you have to follow a few instructions. You will not talk. When you want to say yes, say yes. And if you want to say no, then just stop. You will start when I say now, okay? Don't speak enough because it's past private property and you don't know what's going to happen to you. You will start when I tell you now, okay? 3, 2, 1, Now. On your left, okay, a narrow staircase will show up. The staircase goes up. Stop in front of the staircase. On the left of the staircase, Mr. Senputta, can you hear me? Can you see a narrow alley? Okay, just keep walking fast. There are steps going up, but don't take the steps. Talk to anybody. If there are people that want to talk to you, please pretend you're talking on the phone and you don't notice, okay? Okay? Are you keeping straight? Don't go left or right just yet. Okay? Okay?
Okay, this is walking through north of Kolkata. In the first part, it all happened within India. Then we took the project to a second stage, which happened between India and Berlin. So maybe I show you a little bit of footage from where that was, because that was quite a bit more complicated, because the Indian call center operators that we worked with had never been to Berlin. So they were guiding people through a city that they only knew from pictures, where the time zone was 3.5 hours or 4.5 hours in a moment away from them, and where the people would speak at least English with a different accent. So it was a different challenge.
Hello.
Sorry, Philip. We have a problem with the lines today. My name is Susie. Hello. How are you?
Hello, Susie. Oh, I'm fine, thanks.
Okay. Do we start?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, okay.
Tell me, Birgit, how many people are there in the world who would recognize your voice at a phone? Have you found Easy Cash sign now?
Yes.
Easy Cash sign?
I'm in front of the glass doors.
Right now, we are going to start with our first act. As soon as I say go, you'll have to walk through these glass doors, and they will just open up like theater curtains.
Now you go.
Okay.
Okay, you're inside. So you continue crossing the hall and you leave the building through the other two glass gates. Oh, and when you're outside, please give me the password. But you know, while you're walking, on your left-hand side, you see the security guard.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
in front of the yeah. Is he waving at
saw
you?
him.
Please wave at him.
Yeah,
He's a
he
very
did.
friendly man.
So tell me, Sarah, what do you do? I mean, when you're not guiding German guys through the streets of Berlin?
Oh, trust me, if they were only German guys and as cute as you are, I would spend the rest of my time pretty much thinking about them.
Really?
But since, unfortunately, not all of them are as cute as you are, I find some time to go to university.
Can you hear me? Sarah? Help.
Have you ever fallen in love on a phone?
I have, yes.
How was it?
It was fantastic, yes. I enjoyed it very much. A voice can be very strong, very strong.
Did you ever fall in love on the phone?
Let me think. No.
But you know, there's always the first time for you.
So as you can see, there are certain scripted parts that will always come up. We knew that at some point that this love question should be there, but then what is the outcome of it was very open. Some people were very fast in finding their way. Others sort of said, no, I'm not going to walk before I know who you are. Others wanted to know, well, how is that, a call center in India? How much do you earn there? What is that place? Because right from the beginning, we were giving away, as opposed to commercial phone call center lines, we gave away that it was about a distance of 14,000 kilometers between the two people that were walking in a way virtually together, and also developed a relationship, which was almost a partnership of when you're going for a walk, you know, you talk and you have some philosophical exchange, and in the same moment you talk about the things that you see. But in the same moment also, as every 10 minutes, one of these visitors of the theater project walked the very same route and would turn their head in the very same place to the right side. It became a performance also for a third kind of an audience, which were random passers-by who saw, oh, every 10 minutes there is somebody going around this corner, and it often looked quite strange, especially when they started to reenact little bits.
And you whisper.
Ich bin dabei! Das war so laut wie möglich. Sorry. Okay. Lauter als ich, okay? Lauter
Okay,
Technik.
hold your ears.
Bitte?
Ich bin dabei! Is that good?
Now, you stand with your right foot a little bit in front as if you're walking. Okay, and with your right hand, you point to your right side. And you look to the right. And you freeze like that for a minute. Do you know what you are now? You're now the sculpture of
Traffic
Netaji.
sign.
No, you're not. You're the sculpture of Netaji pointing in the direction of India. That's the direction of
This is the
India.
direction of
Yeah,
India?
yeah.
No! Okay.
So as you went, you became a sculpture in certain moments. You became an intervention, almost a little guerrilla conspiracy contributor. Maybe it's important to mention that we watch this now on film because Anjun Dutta, maybe you know him, a theater person himself, he made this film about the whole project. But obviously when you did participate in the project, you were alone most of it. This was just one day we did shooting. The rest of the time actually it happened just between these two people. And I, as a director, I don't know actually what people all talked about. I know that quite some of them went for singing in a big part of what they were doing. And very interesting meetings happened. But for the biggest part of it, it was an audio experience. Only in the very end, this changed. Let me take you to this end then.
To your right, you can see a Phobos superstore.
What kind of store?
A Phobos superstore.
Phobos,
On your
yeah,
right side,
computer
yeah,
shop.
Phobos.
Right, okay, yes.
You come to that store and
Right.
come to the last window of the store.
Yes, okay.
Yes?
Now, just stop in front of Phobos, yeah, because that's your final destination. So,
Hi, that's me.
Oh my god.
Do you see me waving like the driver of the train did?
Is it you? This is funny.
What do you see in the window?
You.
How do you
Possibly that's you.
So Vicky, now what you do is you please take your mobile phone. Yeah, you open the black leather cover to see the screen, okay?
Yeah, people at the time still had very big mobile phones that were not doing half of what they do today. So in the very end, you met the people on the other side of the phone line, and it was actually before Skype was invented, so it was a very low connection, a very slow one. But it was a surprising moment because some audience members, although we were always very open about the whole thing being a remote-controlled thing from India, still couldn't really believe it and thought that it was somebody just around the corner. And then when they saw it, that there were people actually wearing saris in a call center that were on the phone with them, it was a bit of a turnaround in their perception of the whole thing. And the sad part of it was that then normally theater ends with an applause. In this case it ended with hanging up. And then suddenly you were alone again, and the 14,000 kilometers between you and the others was a very long distance. So a lot of them actually exchanged email addresses over the phone just before hanging up, and some of them are in contact until nowadays. Airport Kids. We developed it in Lausanne. Lausanne is a city in the French-speaking part of Switzerland that has a lot of foreign companies working as Delhi, I guess. A lot of expats around, a lot of different cultural backgrounds of the people there. And we were interested in people, in the kids of those people that are partly kids of managers, kids of diplomats, kids of refugees that have different backgrounds. The sociological term for them is third culture kids that have to deal between different cultures. We visited the international school in Lausanne, which has a lot of small children that have to change their country every 2 or 3 years because their father is a manager, and for instance, Philip Morris, a tobacco company, has a big seat there, and they are constantly shifting their managers around. So we worked with kids in a play on a stage. The stage designer, Dominic Huber, he developed small houses together with those kids that would be portable, because it's a new form of society that comes up out of this generation. That was, I think, one of our claims in or the points of departures for this project. Let me just show you a bit. In this case, it's on a stage, so it'll be easier to be identified as theater.
Je m'appelle Oussama, ma mère est marocaine et mon père est suisse. Mes parents se sont rencontrés en Suisse. Ma mère est esthéticienne. Elle connaît beaucoup de femmes très importantes. Par exemple, la princesse de l'Arabie Saoudite. Depuis que mes parents sont divorcés, je suis le seul garçon de la maison. Là, c'est moi, entre ma mère et ma sœur. Et j'ai un revolver en plastique à côté de mon lit pour défendre ma famille. Maintenant, je déplace les boîtes, mais dans le futur, j'aurai beaucoup de pouvoir. Je serai businessman et je voyagerai autour du monde. Je m'appelle Julien et je suis né à Lausanne. Je suis allée beaucoup de fois en Chine. Ma mère vient de Guangzhou.
Hello, my name is Patrick. I was born in Switzerland, but my mother is from Ireland. And here you can see her sitting in front of her trophies she won in golf and karate. She works as a vice president in research and development in Philip Morris. She goes to work at about 6 o'clock in the morning and comes back at 6 o'clock at night, even though most of the time she does come back at 8 or 9 o'clock.
Je m'appelle Sarah. Et ça, c'est mon ami l'escargot tourbillon. Vous le voyez? Je m'appelle Aline. Mon père a connu ma mère à Lausanne. Mon père, à côté de l'aquarium portugais, a quitté l'Angola. Ma mère, à côté de la télé brésilienne, est venue en Suisse pour 15 jours de vacances.
My name is Christina, and in the future, I would like to be a tennis player. I was born in Krasnodar in Russia. I moved to Moscow when I was 4, and finally, I arrived to Switzerland when I was 7. I move a lot because of the work of my father. Like Patrick's mother, my father works for Philip Morris. When I move, I have to start everything from the very beginning, and it seems like I'm being born again. When I move, I have to learn a different language, be a different person. When I moved here, I lost my 2 grandmothers, my best friend Anna, 2 pairs of sneakers, 1 tennis racket.
My name is Karima Manik. I was born in Pune, India. I went to school in Thailand. My father worked for Tetra Pak, and we moved a lot because of his work. My father can make money in 5 minutes. This is a photo of me flying. This is a photo of my sister in my hands.
So we worked a lot with small cameras that we had installed in these portable little home boxes, because for them it's often a reality that their family is spread a bit all over the globe and they communicate via Skype a lot. And so we used that tool from outside these boxes. But we also developed songs. Actually, a composer from Lausanne, Christian Garcia, developed music together with the kids who hadn't really been playing instruments before, and they wrote songs about their lives, because all they say on stage is basically from their lives. She is a descendant from African parents, but she has never been there because the country, Angola, where her father came from, is declared by her father too dangerous for her to go. So she sings that song about it. So change and transformation is a lot present in those families. If you go to one of these international schools, they told us every every school term, when the pupils come back to school, they find only 3/4 of their classmates still there. The others have moved on.
I would like to show you the class I was in last year at the International School of Lausanne. This is my best friend Laura. She's half Hungarian, quarter Greek, and quarter Australian. This is Kaegi. She's from South Africa. She moved to California. I don't know why.
Attention, il y a des Chinois qui vont en Italie.
This is Jenna. Her father works for Philip Morris, just like my father does. This is Nicole. She's from South Africa. She used to be in love with Richard, who's from America, but then she stopped liking him because people kept making fun of her.
Attention, il y a des Chinois qui vont au théâtre de venir regarder un spectacle qui dure toute leur vie.
This is Michael. He's from America. He moved back to the United States because of the work of his father, which is in Nestle. This is Max. He's from Italy and Holland. He used to be in love with me, but I didn't like him because he was really mean.
So out of this situation that we found, we asked the kids to develop utopias. What will their future be? Because we guessed somehow they are going to be the decision makers when we will be old and maybe ill, and depend on them to design a new planet that is inhabitable for themselves and for us.
Dubaï est une ville avec le plus millénaire au monde et le plus d'étrangers. Sur 5 habitants, il y en a 4 qui sont des étrangers. Et il y a au moins 200 gratte-ciel. C'est une ville où on peut avoir la maison de son choix. Il n'y a pas de règles de construction. Et il y a un hôtel avec des chambres sous l'eau. Mon utopie, c'est de construire une maison portable à Dubaï pour voyager à travers le monde. Une maison portable comme cette boîte. Ça, c'est un décor de rue pour que je puisse faire du breakdance où j'ai appris par cours de DVD. Ça, c'est un graffiti en arabe qui veut dire Dubaï. Ici, c'est la caméra pour que je puisse parler avec mes nouveaux amis.
My utopia would be to live on a floating city which belongs to no country. This is the Freedom Ship. A company in Honduras wants to start building it. They hope to get the money in 2015 so we could move in 2020. Clyde would be 26 there and Julian would be 18. It is more than a kilometer long and here you can see a small regular ship next to it. The front, which will be triangular, will be made specially to resist 30-meter waves and even small hurricanes. Any questions?
So you can feel that these kids are very early trained to turn very adult by themselves, especially Patrick. But beyond all these utopias, there is also then always a factor of reality that comes back to you when you work with people that are, we call them experts, people that have something to say and they talk about their life and are not professional actors in that sense. In this case, it was a part of this reality was the story of Garima that you saw in the beginning.
Are you out there? You know what? I'm not in this room right now.
Garima Manik started rehearsing with us last year. This year, Tetra Pak decided to send her father back to Indonesia and she left. Also, Raluca Ionescu had to leave Switzerland because the Swiss government expelled her family from here. She's right now back in Romania.
So actually we had started rehearsing with her and then halfway through the father suddenly was shifted and we didn't really know how to integrate it because we didn't want to lose her story, so we decided to film those things, and during the performance I think halfway through the audience believed that she was in the space herself. So I guess reality keeps inscribing itself in that kind of documentary theater. I don't know if some of you have seen Black Tie when it was here. I think 2 years ago in NSD, yeah, I see some hands up. It is in a similar way, I think, a story that was written by life and then kept transforming as it went on tour. They became stronger and stronger, and more they became really airport kids because they were flying and touring a lot with this project. But also after 2 years, suddenly they told us that they're fed up with this because they felt their life has transformed further and the stories that they were talking about on stage were not theirs anymore, but the stories of a small boy or girl that they were some years back. How good it is to work with very, very young people before their adolescence. They're very straightforward. The biggest problem we had with their parents who constantly were saying, no, but my child shouldn't say this or that on stage. And obviously they were also talking about the parents' lives, which especially in the case of those cigarette-producing parents, it became a problem because they said their company would interfere with the texts that we were speaking on the stage. So this is a project that really focused on a very specific group, a sociological group, and we have done a number of that projects with call center employees, also with truck drivers. And one day we asked ourselves, can't we maybe find a way to represent an entire city on a stage? In this version that I'll show to you, it's called 100% Melbourne. We made it in Melbourne with a lot of Melburnians.
I've only been on stage once before. It was a church production, and I was wearing a dog costume. So the last time I was in this room, I was right out there in the audience. It was the City of Melbourne Christmas party, and at the time I was managing population statistics for the council. As a student of social science, I've always been interested in the numbers. I wanted the facts. and that's what I've got. Every day, I read numbers about this city.
So he works with statistics, but only sees the numbers and never the people. And that was a feeling that we had as well when we were trying to look at Melbourne in a broader sense. So we decided to choose certain numbers and find the people matching these. So here is a part of our book that we made around this project, and it also displays our criteria of casting. These are the actual numbers of Melbourne. So you have 50% male, 50% female. So we knew, I didn't say that, we wanted to have 100 people on stage. And they should match the city. So we had 50 men and 50 women. We needed also, these are the migration backgrounds of the people in Melbourne. So we needed, I can't count it, I think it's, must be, I think, 60-something Australian-born people, but also, 7 people from UK or Ireland. Northeast Asia has 3% of citizens in the city, so we were looking to have 3 people from that neighborhood. These are the age groups. We matched them according to these figures that we found actually in the census with the help of Anton, which you just met. These are the neighborhoods that people live in, and we tried to match them exactly, and the household size was our last criterion. But we didn't do the casting ourselves, but it started a chain reaction, which actually started with Anton. So let me just move a little bit forward. So he would explain that book, he would explain how the project came up, and then he would say...
I chose my friend Michael. He's between 25 and 34, lives in inner Melbourne, and he's here tonight.
I brought along my camera that I bought 20 years ago. Recently I went to the Solomon Islands to photograph Australian volunteers, and I brought along a friend, John.
I'm wearing my grandfather's tummy. I've survived the running the bulls, and I brought along my lovely and single sister Lauren.
I'm 28. I live in South Melbourne. I've got moves you've never seen.
So we found the people through a chain reaction process. For the first ones, it was very simple because they just needed to find anybody, and they would tick the boxes that you saw before. But as it went along, and I'll just fast forward this first scene because it's quite long. It's everybody presents themselves. It's 100 people, so it'll take about 15 minutes. I'll go fast forward through it. You see the Italian community suddenly coming in. Then it went to the first children, and then we had these sort of college students, and so we had very, very different. These are the Indians. Maybe we should look at the Indian community in Melbourne.
Well, I've learned that when you speak out, not only do you divide people, but you also unite them. Go Pies! My friend Sean.
Hi, I'm Sean. I'm 12 years old. My favourite movie is Hancock. And I recommended my sister Sean.
Hi, my name's Shahara. This is my object, and I recommended Chili.
Hi, my name's Chili. I'm 5, and I bought my roller skates. Hi, I'm Diesel. I'm 7, and I bring my lipstick, and I recommended my mum.
Yeah, and so on and so on. So it's a lot of hellos because, as you can imagine, if you have 100 people on stage, also everybody in the audience knows at least one on the stage. So there were sort of selective applauses for them, I guess. There were our Aborigines or First Nations. We had a handicapped person as well. As it went on, the casting became more and more difficult because you can imagine that once we had all the people from single households. At a certain point, we had all the people who were younger than 30. So we needed to be more and more precise, and we needed to help the chain reaction. We started putting announcements in the newspapers. We are looking for people with a Balkan background, migration background, and only men, because I think the women, we found them earlier and quicker. But we managed. we got 100 people together, and so we could match the statistics. So the first statistic we would show is the age group, and we asked them to do one step for every 10 years that they're old towards the center.
All ready? Turn, steady, go.
So this is a vertical camera, and you can see the oldest going into the center and the younger ones being out there. 80 years old is the oldest one that was just speaking.
Melbourne, because 50% of us are female and 50% of us are male.
And then, so here you have the man and women's divide, and then we started asking questions that aren't in the statistics.
Okay, Melbourne, how loud can you scream? Ready, steady, scream.
Who has previously taken part in a statistical survey?
So on the left side you see the me people, and on the right side you see the not me people.
Who finds it hard to make decisions?
Who likes to stand out in a crowd?
Who would like to identify themselves as being gay?
So the gay community, quite self-assured, but not too big on stage. Obviously we don't know if everybody who is gay also admitted. He asks who wants to stand out as gay, so we left a small option that people might not out themselves if they didn't feel like. And anyway, we didn't control back. They're talking about themselves, and they do it the way they feel. There is a gap of fiction that even me as the author or director of it don't necessarily know the truth about. We had then an open microphone where people could ask their own questions if they had, and they were different ones every day.
Who here likes the United States of America?
And he's American himself, that's why he wants to know.
Who likes watching TV?
Who thinks the youth of our community have a lot to offer?
Whose favourite colour is blue or green?
Whose favorite color is blue or green? So when you have an open mic, obviously also there come in a lot of questions that you wouldn't necessarily ask, but it created a certain dynamic because people started reacting to questions that others would be asking. Later there's a part where people answer with color books the questions.
How do you achieve an altered state of mind?
How often have you thought of leaving Australia?
So here everybody who says that he's part of the we group that is mentioned above is standing in the middle. And as you can see, we have light tonight, is a considerable amount of people. So I don't know, I don't think they lied in all the questions, but so who is not paying for public transport is a big topic in Melbourne, because they have just changed the system in their public transport, and everybody hates the public transport, and therefore they don't pay, and they even got an applause from the audience for not paying. We've broken the law. You might want to know what is the story behind, but we don't ask, so. We have been to jail. In jail are 3 out of them. Yeah, maybe I just keep it running. Maybe we put a little bit the lights up. Are there questions? Is it clear how this project works? And it's. We kept developing it for different cities and we got obviously very different results in certain questions. We asked in Australia who is in favor of the death penalty, and we were quite surprised that there was a big amount. There was almost half of the representative crowd that we had on stage was saying yes to that question, whereas in Germany people are very educated after World War II to be definitely against the death penalty. So we normally in Germany only get about 5, 6, 7 people to stand there, and gradually as they stand in front of an audience they might even want to hide behind the others even more.
What was the duration of this?
It's a bit different in each city where we do it. It's about 80 minutes show, it would be normally. It has different patterns that we can use or not in some different theaters. Different tools are used. You saw that we use a revolving stage in the beginning to turn people around. And then we publish a book. What takes the longest in this is the casting process, because it's a process that takes 100 days. Every day we try to find one person, and it's a chain reaction that goes on through the city. And we try to draw the map once, how from one corner of the city we move to another corner, and again it keeps moving. If you want, I can show you maybe one more project that takes a very different form, to go as far as I can away from the classical term of theater, maybe in this case. It's a project where we found a place that we thought, wow, that is theater already on its own. And it's an event that takes place every year in Berlin. If you happen to go to Berlin this year, I can highly recommend it. That is the show you can see. It's the annual meeting of the shareholder of Daimler. Daimler is the company that has Mercedes as well. I guess Mercedes cars are a bit known here as well. So highly luxury segment, but they also own other companies. And it's a huge shareholders meeting. It's one of the biggest, I think, financial corporations within Germany. So 8,000 people go to that annual shareholder meeting. And it's a moment where you can see capitalism perform. So we thought that's a show in itself. All we need to do is to make it accessible. Because normally you can only go if you own a share yourself. So we bought quite a lot of shares. We announced the shareholder meeting of Daimler in the program of a theater in Berlin that we often collaborate with, the How Theater. So amidst other shows, a dance show here, Shakespeare there, you would see Daimler. But you needed to apply 2 weeks before, so we could organize tickets for you by either buying the shares ourselves or finding people that would give away their visiting rights for the shareholders' meeting. And all we then did, in a way, to frame it as theater, was we published a program booklets to explain the show, because we felt that it needed a bit of explanation. And so that's our book. Here, Hauptversammlung is the German word for shareholders' meeting. And this is like the important page in a program book, normally. It says who performs whom. This is the head of the board, one of the best earning Germans, I think, Dieter Zetsche. He was performing himself as a... Mr. Bischoff, he's the head of the controlling board, I think. I'm not sure if that's the English term of it. So this whole legal body of the capitalist company is mentioned here as the protagonists, because they have to sit there all day long during that performance or event, or we could argue then later if it's theater or not. And there are also, what is interesting, in Germany you have the legal right, if you hold a share, to ask a question during that event. So people go there to ask, why does my car make these weird noises when I open the door? That's not a good question to ask there, because they're not the mechanicians there. Others go there and ask, why did you buy Mitsubishi? Because it was a bad business. That's what the company did some years ago. Or why did you do this merger with Chrysler for a while, which made Daimler lose a lot of money? And then there are people who use the opportunity for criticizing the company for certain decisions, like they hold EADS, which is a weapon manufacturer, partly. They have shares, so people go and criticize that. So it's quite an interesting show to happen. So here we have also the buffet caterers on our list. And it says the show is directed, not by us, but by Daimler. We just sort of framed it, as Duchamp would have said, as a ready-made. So we transform it into theater by declaring it theater. So, and we, in the book, also published some more information that might be helpful. The explanation of the stage design. This is how it looks. It looks almost like a meeting of a Soviet Communist Party with a big board, but some cars to the side to display. We made some interviews with interesting people that go there. We explain a bit of how there are some pictures of the year before where we went to see it. You see, it's a very expensive stage. The whole event costs them, we did some research, costs them more than €1 million to make it happen. So, and that's maybe the most important page. How economy works is that in the board you always have people who are also in the board of other companies. Like this guy also performs in another play, which is the play of Lufthansa company, where he has also the role of a head of the board. This person is also in, what is it, Fraport, which is the company that holds the Frankfurt airport. There are others that are connected to Chrysler. There are other, yeah, and so on. So you see the background, let's say, the subtext of these actors. Now we're not really allowed to film ourselves the performance, because cameras are not allowed in there. Except for the official reporters. But I can show you a little bit of video from what in the evening was broadcasted by the TV channels, because as we turned it into a theater show, there was an interesting come together of, on one hand, cultural journalists reporting about Daimler as a theater play, criticizing it, saying if they're good actors or not, or if the story is convincing or honest, and there were also obviously the classical reporters that go there, economy describers, who would suddenly write about why is this theater or not, because they also had heard that it is happening. So in the evening on the news, yeah, that's how it looks outside the building. There are 8,000 people going there, so it's really a big show this is not our theater people, they're using masks. It's a union that is trying to use the occasion to protest against the fact that the big boss was unemploying young people who are starting to work there in the company. Inside there are these safety checks, and you can find everything that is like theater. For instance, stage light is there, big video screen, stage design, sound, audience, and there is all these demonstrations of new products that they have outdoors. And there is a free catering for everybody. That's, I think, the reason for many of the people that go there to go there. There's the back office, because legally it's a very important day for the company. If they get sued afterwards because something went wrong, then they might need to repeat the whole event, which will cost them another €1 million. So that's why they were also very, and actually even on the toilet they need to stream the sound of the head speaking. So, as you can imagine, for the company a lot was at stake that day. And they found out some months before there is a theater company who calls us theater makers. They were getting scared, and they sent some lawyers over to our office to find out what are you going to do. And we talked with them. We said, well, we just want to watch you because we think capitalism is more influential nowadays than politics, so it's good to watch what you're doing. And it's theater enough. It's pure Shakespeare when power performs against each other there. So they were skeptical. Obviously, they thought, you're a theater group, you probably will run on stage, take off your pants, show us your asses, or whatever lefties do when they try to protest. And we said no, but they didn't really believe us. So we heard that they got a lot of training what to do if the theater group comes in on the stage. But the only thing that really changed in the show is, I will show you that. So this is the audience.
Auch wenn Daimler von der Rimini-Protokoll-Idee offensichtlich nicht begeistert ist.
So this is the opening speech of the head of the board. And there's one phrase he addressed just for us.
Sollten die Regeln des Anstands einhalten, auch werde ich Störungen des Ablaufs der Hauptversammlung nicht zulassen.
We should respect the rules of this event and we will not allow any interferences.
Dies ist hier weder ein Schauspiel noch ein Theaterstück und es gelten die für alle Aktionäre und Aktionärsvertreter bindenden Regeln.
So this is not a theater and this is not a performance and we're not actors and all the rules will be applied to this event. It's an interesting moment, I think. We're talking about before, what is theater or not? And yeah, when you say what you do is not theater, it normally doesn't help you to avoid it being theater, would be my thesis, but I don't know. Good, I think I took a lot of time of you. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll be here if you have more questions afterwards. You can still be.